came to dinner. Chucky, we just want to be part of the crowd. You know what I mean? So,
Billy.
So Chucky's son, in case you don't know, Chucky's son is an unbelievable naval officer. He can park a destroyer right up against the dock and not even make a wake. But he can't figure out a damn calendar. So he couldn't be here tonight. So I got the duty. Now, before I start,
Sounds like
I was visiting my friends at the Toronto Rehabilitation Center this week. They actually have a room ready for you. Now, one thing about Chucky's son, he's an orator. Damn it, we're gonna be here a while.
I'm going to send this to
Hang on.
maybe here later than that.
This is like a wedding trend. Oh, can I have a sneak it in for a minute?
It looks like Chuck's corrective action list.
Hold on. No, this is actually the directions for his proctologist. All right. Anyway, so Chucky, I'm going to try to do the best mannerisms of your son. You know what I mean, Dad? Dad, how you doing? Dad, okay? You sure? All right. Let me get this started here. Page 1. Dad, let me be the one to officially congratulate you on surviving your work for the last 40 years. Your dedication, your work, your ethic are lessons that you have imparted upon me. I'm sure the hospital, your co-workers, your parents, your patients, thank you, and will miss you. Unless, that is, you're a famous rock star getting a contrast injection. I can say I'm looking forward to having you abundantly have some free time, as long as it doesn't include watching the Food Network, John Wayne movie marathon, doing laundry all day, or immensely using your iPad. I think I just spoke for Mom, too. So without further ado, Charles Raymond Perry III, RTR, CV, CTR, LMNOP, EIOU.
PIA.
Mondo, like you will. Anyway, there's a man we all know. However, we all know him differently. Some may have known him as a youthful, skinnier, dark-haired tech. But I'm guessing more of you have known him as a heftier, wrinkler, definitely grumpier, okay? And may I say, stubborn technician with an impressive full of hair of white locks who has been an MGH longer than the mummy. Help me out with this, all you MGX. Right?
Getting close to Ken.
Help me out. Hadisher?
You're on your own, bud, sorry.
All right. Anyway, so wait a minute. Quiz. Time out open. Explain what Paradishu is for the people who don't know.
It's the mummy in the Bullfinch tomb.
It's the mummy in the Bullfinch tomb. It's 200 years old. They grew up together. It's all right. So for 40 years with an organization is an amazing feat, Dad, especially in today's globalization world. And let me be the first to say, the only thing Chuck is disappointed in is that he didn't get the sweet set of golf clubs sitting there waiting for the old docs when they retire in the 50th anniversary year. Huh? No clubs for you, Chuck.
No club for you.
40 plus years of ice buckets, clogs, jackets, backpacks, coming to an end. It's all a damn good time. So, Dad, from my years of perspective as your son, I can say he wasn't always too fond of MGM's bigwigs.
MGM?
MGH's bigwigs. Hey, come on, I'm working through a script here. Okay? I only got this thing 2 days ago. All right. I love you. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so let's back it up here because someone interrupted me.
Sorry. I won't do it again.
Chris, I apologize. You see that? She did it. Anyway, Okay, so from my years of perspective as your son, I can say that he wasn't always too fond of the MGH bigwigs, but loved the idea of a pension, even if apparently he didn't know what a pension really was. However, he chose to stay. And I always wondered if people at work really liked Chuck, or if they just put up with him, like he kind of puts up with his mother-in-law, who we affectionately call Grandmother G. Okay?
See, she won't
Obviously, your presence here tonight proves that he must have some inkling of liking him. I say this because Chuck is a stoic man who very seldom showed emotion unless it was anger from frustrating situations at work. I can count the numbers of times I've seen him cry on one hand, and I only have 4 fingers.
That was you, Adam, Bill.
Who's laughing at the finger joke?
Would have been your daughter.
His daughter.
Very much. I did outlive that, I'm sorry, Mr. Perry, okay? But I have a few emotional insights of a man from a work with experience I'd like to share. As a kid, I would go into Boston with my friends and make it a point to stop by the hospital and expertly navigate, I might say, the stairwells and find the CT department to see my dad. Page 2. He loved the visits until I put my hand out like Oliver Twist and said, "Please, sir, may I have $20? And then I would guilt him into the $20 to spend because all of his friends would say, "Come on, help out the kid." It was sort of like always like the bully stealing lunch money from the kid. Although in this case, I was the kid, he was the adult. Just recently, we went to the hospital with my kids, right, to visit him, and he showed me the same rooms, the same equipment I always used to see. Visits to the hospital were as much fun then as they are now. Because we love you. Speaking of patients, I always wondered how a guy who complained about the number of patients he saw in a day, how some NP was telling him how to incorrectly do his job, or how HH didn't pay him as well as other places because a good friend is one to the patients. I wondered about this until one day I went to get my $20. And I saw my dad not only smiling, did anybody get a picture of that?
I don't think anybody's had a picture of that in years.
God, we could all use it.
Thinking about his grandchildren.
Yeah, you bet. I saw him smiling, but making his patients laugh and putting them at ease while he went through a procedure that might not always deliver the best news of the day. From my quick perspective, his ability to talk to the patients and make them laugh must have been the thing that kept him going for over 40 years, and must have been the same connection that created a friendship that endured with you all today. I can also remember the early days when he would come home and be on call with an ancient device. It was called a pager. And as soon as he walked through the door, the pager would go off, and he dutifully and less than ecstatically got called in. After he hung up, he'd throw his shoe across the room, and just like Chris Sales like a rookie. If you've ever seen Chucky throw something, this is what happens. Like, oh, damn it! Damn it! Now I gotta go in! Why the hell couldn't they just call me? All right?
Gonna need intermission.
Come on, we've witnessed some of those.
As mad as he was for making the trip home, he went back to work, which showed him the responsibility was. I like to think he went back and greeted his patients with the same smile I observed during my visits. And while cursing the doctor who delayed the scan and let him go home and only caught him back, of course he did it with great joy in his heart. As I said before, Chuck is stoic, except for the one time when we were eating dinner at the kitchen table and he seemed visibly upset.
Oh, no.
Not the frustrated throw your shoes across the room kind of upset, but genuinely upset. And it seemed to say, life isn't fair. He explained during dinner that a young child whom he has scanned for many years had passed away. It sucked. His special concern for the care of the young child is evident.
Feel good, Bill. Huggy muggy time. Child Papa needs a hug.
And the day he became a papa was one of the most special moments of his life.
Needs a hug.
He now has 5 grandchildren and looks forward to spending more time with them. The compassion of family and his kids is also evident when he greets them with all the emotion while watching movies such as Rudy, Click with Adam Sandler, Everybody's Fine with Robert De Niro, Big Fish, and God help us all when he watches Little Boy with Michael Rappaport. Page 2.5. So with Chuck's century of dedication to the hospital, he must have some nuggets of wisdom to impart to his department. So as his professional speechwriter, and soon professional butt wiper,
Oh, Chris. Oh, wow, he's a good writer, dear.
here's what I think he would say. 1, you can be a miserable suck all you want, right? Am I right?
Absolutely
Suck! Miserable suck! You can be a miserable suck all you want, but don't be a miserable suck to the patients.
Right.
You never know which ones you'll have an impact on
right.
and will form a long-lasting relationship. Don't stop learning your job, not just because you're a professional technologist, and technology is constantly changing, but because of the joy it brings when you tell some MD, hey schmuck, you missed something that you ordered to scan like this, so let me show you how it's done. Regardless of whether it's in a child, adult, a senior member of life, or be the fullest you can be when you're taking care of that patient. And whenever your kid comes to see you, give them $50. You know what inflation's all about? What? What are you laughing at? This is serious. So, Charles Raymond Perry III, RTR, CV, CTR, and RETIRED. And I want to apologize for not being there, but as Harry Chapin said it best, you know my job is a hassle and my kids got the flu shots, but it's sure nice talking to you, Dad. Sure nice talking to you up at Look.